Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Love Talk with Keisha. Welcome to Love Talk with Keisha. We are live on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just getting my other stuff together. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. And I am excited again to have another yet love conversation, a love chat. I'm excited about my guest today. I am Lakeisha Jenkins. I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I am a mentor. I just want to give you my opening. This show is presented on behalf of Self Love Ministry, which promotes self love awareness in regards to us being able to love ourselves unconditionally, especially through our challenges of seeking and needing to heal. We render conversation pertaining to discovering our brokenness and seeking new beginnings. We discuss issues surrounding healing in all types of relationships. The lies, which are people's opinions that are often made against us with judgment. The lust, which is the pain and the trauma and the effects we endure on a day to day life. And the lessons, which are the things that are meant to help us heal, recover, and survive through our challenges. We render testimony, we render transparency, and we render truth about our own personal self journey and self discovery. After the show, you are welcome to send questions, concerns, letters, all of those wonderful things. You can forward them to my email, loving me first underscore self love at yahoo.com, or my guest will also give you his email also at the end of the show. And any questions are also welcome throughout the show, through the comment section or through my inbox as well. So, welcome again to Love Talk with Keisha. I'm excited today. My guest is my cousin Jacob the second. I am so excited about this. I love having good conversation. Anybody that knows me know I love good conversation, and this is going to be an awesome conversation. I am just going to start off by letting him introduce himself before I go any further.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jacob W. Anson II, uh, born and raised in Saluda, South Carolina. Lived in the DMV area, lived in the South Florida area as well. I'm in the music business. I'm a entertainment consultant. Sometimes I do manage artists. I'm a motivational speaker. I belong to the Unique Blessings nonprofit organization. That's www.uniqueblessings.org, where we fight against human trafficking, domestic violence, sexual assault, with a focus on our at-risk youth. And so I'm honored to be here with my cousin. And this is the healing stage, so we're gonna chop it up with Love Talk with Keisha, and I hope that you can get something out of the conversation, as well as I hope the conversation is going to bless our hearts and our souls. And it's just a pleasure to be here.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So we're going to start off with my show that I did in June with my guest, Mario Hempfield. After we finished that live, you immediately, like soon as we got off, like you called me and we ended up talking maybe like 30, 45 minutes, and you was just giving me some more input from the man side. And I was like, okay, we gotta do another part. We gotta do a part two. And you were so open and so willing to do part two. And you began to explain to me some things, and you began to also ask me some questions. And I began to write them down because they were so good. And I was like, we gotta go live with this. Like, we gotta, deliver this information to the people. And one of the things that I know that you basically want to discuss is the man's brokenness. If you can just touch a little bit
Yes.
about just the brokenness of a man, and how, one of my questions would be, I know as a woman how we deal with our brokenness.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
we
mm,
we
mhm.
we what's the word I'm looking for? We go the other way. We don't pay attention to it. We're in denial. We feel that we don't need to heal. We try to fill that void with so many different things. But how does a man not only deal with his issues, but how is he affected by those issues of his brokenness?
Oh man, it just start. It can start from when he was in the womb, and when the mother was going through her squabble and her altercations with the father while she was carrying him. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, with that being said, a lot of times, when you're constantly bickering and arguing with a person, you know, the DNA kind of, absorbs in that conversation, and that child may come out looking just like the father and looking nothing like the mother. And so, with all that hurt and that pain and that turmoil that the mother is going through, and she may hate his guts. She may can't stand him. Can't stand to see the sight of him, but she has to look at that son or
Mm-hmm.
that daughter every day that look just like that man. And so,
Mm.
damaging to a kid's soul is, you make me sick. You look just like your daddy.
Wow.
You ain't gonna be such and such. You ain't gonna be that. And so that's kind of damaging to a child's soul. And so if you don't have enough spiritual growth to ask God to forgive you for your thought process of why you're carrying this child, that can spill over to when the child is being born. And it can be so much damage control that a person really can't fix because they're broken and they're hurting. And so when a child comes from a broken place in the womb, then as he gets into a cold world of society, it the child becomes more broken. And especially the males. Males hide their brokenness. They may cover
Hmm.
it up with their talent. Like they may cover it up with sports. They may cover it up with music, and they don't want to talk about it. So they hide in a corner and go crying and just cut themselves off from the world because they feel like the pain that they endured from the time they're a child to the time they're adult, nobody really cared. But if people don't really know what you're enduring, they don't know how to care for you, or they don't know
Absolutely.
how to get in that space, get in that space where you open up to them. So a man's brokenness is quite severe, and a lot of people wouldn't even realize how severe that man brokenness is.
Absolutely.
So this is
And
going
that,
to be a real. Go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
Okay, this is going to be a conversation that my sisters, my queens, really need to hear, especially the ones that holds high regard and high value to being a wife and a wife and a woman of spiritual growth.
Hmm. And here's one of the questions. We was talking. We did our prayer before we came on, and one of the things that was on my mind when I woke up, just thinking about going into this live, is as women, we are with men that we know are broken, and we just said this before we came on. We know that this man is broken, but we don't challenge him to heal. A lot of times as women, we feel as though sticking by him and staying with him, um, is what he needs. But you just said sometimes, we have to take that time to uh, to really tap into, can I really help him? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may not be the help that he
Mm-hmm.
needs. It may be something else. And we stay as women with that man thinking, if I stay with him, if I do this, if I do that, okay, I'm showing him and I'm trying to help him. But what he necessarily needs may not, what you're giving at that time. He may need, yes, you to be there with him, but what you are necessarily giving may not be what he needs. So how do we get to the point where we can pinpoint and understand what exactly this man needs? Because he's not, he's escaping in himself and he's hiding it and he's not open to talk about it. So as a woman, how do we even begin to discover, should I stay or should I go? You know, how do we even get to that point to understand the direction to go when the
So
brokenness
so
shows?
when you now the brokenness may not show directly all the time, but it
Okay.
peaks out um, on certain conversations.
Okay.
So certain conversations are like she may have a very, very close relationship with her dad, and he may be like, she'd be like, "Well, me and Daddy going out for lunch. Would you like to come?" He'd be like, "No, that's the father daughter time." And she may say, bring it up again. Why you don't want to come and sit with me and my dad and have lunch with us and talk? So, and he might say, you know why I don't really want to come? Since you must know and you really want to know that these are things that I never did to my father because I never met my with my father because I never met my father. And so
Okay.
when he's that emotional and that deeply rooted about how could somebody help get me into this world and I never laid eyes on them. Do you really
Hmm.
know how that painful it is for a man to walk through life not knowing why a man who brought him to this world? Because the root is the man. It starts from the man. So if you help brought me to this world and you thought enough of my mom to lay down with her and help make me, but when it's time to bring me into the world and step up to the plate, you didn't think much of me at all. You
Hmm.
just thought of me as a trap. And so with that being said, a lot of times when you trying to heal this man, sometimes it's not you, ladies. Just listen to me really good. It's not you. It's that man that need his space because he's trying to find that inner peace. And so with
Hmm.
trying to find that inner peace, it's something that it's not anything you can do. That's a spiritual reference, a spiritual presence, and a
Wow.
spiritual part of his growth that's between him and God. And so if he feel if a man feel like that I haven't seek that healing from God yet, let me try this, then once he tries that, you got to let him and God have that space. Because if you interrupt the anointings of the healing, then he's going to change his direction on how he view you anyway.
Wow.
But a lot of my sisters, a lot of my queens won't understand this. It's never
Okay.
about you.
Hmm.
Most of the time, it's not about you. But remember this: when he grows to that space and he looks back on the relationship, he he might say this to you: when I was going through,
Hmm.
sweetheart, you was there, you was there with me, but you wasn't
Absolutely.
there for me. That's a
Hmm.
whole different ball game. Yeah, you can be
Okay.
there with somebody, but are you there for them?
Okay. All right. So just touch on that, because a lot of times we feel as though I'm here and I'm right here with you. I'm with you, and I'm giving. I feel that I'm doing everything I can to possibly help you. So I feel as a woman, I'm there for you too. So how do we decipher
Mm,
between those two?
okay, so being there with you, being there with a man, you're there with him in the physical. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're comfortable being there with him, but
Mm-hmm.
being there for him, um, how many women can really understand that the spiritual connection, like if a man is not in love with you spiritually,
Hmm.
then how can he love you emotionally and mentally? I'm gonna say that again.
Say that. I'm about to
If
actually
you
say
if
it
you have
again.
not if you're not invested in the spiritual love between man and woman,
Hmm.
how deeply are you really invested in it mentally and emotionally? And so when I mean invested spiritually, when I say spiritually, you might be out and about doing something and you just said you was on my spirit. I just call you to have a quick prayer with you, tell you that I love you, and tell you that I just want to let you know that God is in the midst of this relationship. And so that's why it's going to the next level. And
Hmm.
and so when you spiritually are connected, the energy, the vibrations, um, the wisdom, the encouragement, the the direction is awkward. And people will ask you, what in the world makes you love her so much?
Hmm.
How how did y'all come to that point? See, you don't have to see it, but other people see it, and when your homeboys be like, bro, I've never seen a woman that love a man much as she love you.
Hmm.
Like, so be it having that spiritual connection, because marriage is nothing but ministry. Marriage
Hmm.
is ministry, deeply rooted ministry that's deeply rooted on the spiritual level, the emotional level, the mental level, and the physical is the very last part of the relationship.
Hmm. So
Because intercourse, intercourse is just a physical attribute of you know of two people coming together to thrive on a inner emotion that really maybe it maybe has nothing to do with love. It's just that feeling you get, and it's just sometimes it can be only lustful temptation, and
hmm.
the and the
Okay.
lustful temptation throw you away and break you down because it's just that feeling at that moment. That doesn't mean that you really care about the person. You want to be with the person. That doesn't mean that you're going to talk to the next person the next week or two.
So
It's
true.
just for that moment, to get that frustration out, and to get that person, you know, uh, secure for that moment. So the spiritual love is real, real deep, and I hope all my sisters experience a man, and I hope all my kings experience a woman that are spiritually in love with them before any type of physical comes.
And what would you say to the person or the couple or whatever that maybe going through that dysfunction, toxic, and all of those different things, and they just haven't tapped into that spiritual side. Like they just not there to understand that the spiritual aspect and the spiritual connection could bring so much growth, could bring so much advantage, so much benefit to that relationship. Not just to that relationship, but let's back up before you even get into the relationship yourself in the singleness stage before you even enter the relationship. What would you say to that person or that those partners that are rejecting that spiritual aspect? Like, what encouragement can you give them to maybe like dive into that, think about it, step beyond that comfort? Like, what words of encouragement could you give them?
Well, my sisters and brothers, I would tell you this way. Yeah, for one, if you're in a relationship, it's fine to be in a relationship, but if that relationship is going to the process of marriage, commitment, and saying I want to be with that person for the rest of my natural life, then what you have to really sit down and talk. And this is a serious topic. You got to really ask that person, and that person got to be really brutally honest with you. My thing is, if he or she doesn't love God more than she loves that person, then he or she is not for you.
Hmm.
So queens, if the king that you're dealing with doesn't love God more than he can ever love you, he's not for you.
Wow.
And my brothers, if she doesn't love God more than she ever can love you, she's not for you. Because
And oh my God, you just hit a spark right there. Go ahead, I'll wait.
and love is a vessel, um, and it's a vessel to be shared. because God is love. So therefore, loving. See, you have to have that personal relationship with God before you even think about loving someone. How much do you love God? What is your divine purpose to be in this person's life? And so,
Hmm.
if there's no purpose, there's no structure, and you can't have any accountability on why you're in their life and what type of how is the structure for this relationship. Um, how do you guys build? Um, is your relationship based on emotions? And another thing, there's something called a intellectual love. So, how much does her intelligence absorb your soul when you're trying to build with her and when you're trying to gain more of her? Like, are you really attracted to her mind? So,
Hmm.
being attracted to her mind, there's a spiritual presence that's inside of you for you to even be attracted to her intellectual thought process.
Hmm.
So, we can get really, really deep on the intellectual thought process because you have to grow spiritually to really absorb your thought process. Because once you go spiritual, your thought process is not the same, and it never will be the same.
Hmm.
So, go ahead, cousin. You can ask what you want to ask me. Go ahead.
Because I was just thinking when you was breaking down like basically you have to have that spiritual connection with God first before you can even step into, that relationship with somebody else. And I began to reflect just back the last year and a half, through Facebook. I shared just a little bit to connect. And if those that was watching me over the last year or two, you kept hearing me say toxic, you kept hearing me say dysfunction, you kept hearing me say pain, you kept hearing me say all of those words. But June of last year to July of last year, June of last year, I wrote on my calendar detox. And then July of last year, the first of last year, I wrote on my calendar determination. So those two words meant a lot to
Mm,
me, last year. But as you were talking, my mind went back to reflect on just my relationship with DeAndre's dad before I said, God, I'm completely trusting you going forward. It was toxic, it was dysfunction, it was arguments over petty stuff. It was this, it was just so much. And then as you was talking, I began to think about that. And I began to think about how the toxic and dysfunction was then and how I'm nowhere near close to that now. Because, first of all, my focus became God. I'm letting everything go. I'm letting everybody go. And God, whatever is meant to come back to me, I believe will come back to me in a better form. And everything that has come back,
mm.
I've treated it with sincerity, I've treated it as a special gift. And those things that didn't come back, I didn't worry about it. You know? So as you was talking, I was like, man, when you talked about how you have to run after that spiritual connection yourself before you even begin to connect with somebody, like that sticks hard. And then the other thought that came to mind is when I let the relationship go, when I let people go, I let things go, I let all of that stuff because I was working on my inner peace, I began to run after purpose. I knew what I was passionate about. I was passionate about self love ministry. I was passionate about doing live videos, helping people. I was passionate about ministry. I was passionate about being an entrepreneur, start more. I ran after that. And I'm telling you no lie,
Hmm.
as I begin to run in my purpose, my ministry, and all of those things became my purpose, because I tell you no lie, everything has lined up in a way it never has. In a way it never has.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't stress as much. I don't argue as much. And even if myself, the areas that I was weak in, I'm strong. You know what I'm saying? I spent 43 years doing this and that, and in this 1.5 year, I say, God, you know what? I'm giving it all to you. I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of going through the cycles of dysfunctioning with men. I'm tired of pouring more into men than I pour into myself. I was just talking to my best friend 4th of July. I said, girl, I look back at some of the relationships I was in, as much as I have in me now and I'm doing for in my life to push towards my purpose. Man, years ago, I was trying to push that man's dream and I wasn't even thinking about mine. I was helping him getting his posters together, his business cards together, taking him around so he could get a job done. And I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't doing nothing. But this time around, after I began to run after my purpose, I began to just put everything else on the back line and put God first. Because I tell you no lie, everything you just said, I can take in and I can really like stick to it, because when you run after God and you put God first, like everything that's supposed to be will be. And you're not going to have to force it. You're not going to have to run after it. And you're not going to have to chase it. It's going to line up. And you're going to be like,
That's right.
wow.
That's right.
You're going to be like, wow.
It's going to be authentic.
I'm telling you, it's going to be the best. Like the place that I am in and the things that I'm experiencing, I tell you, in 44 years, I've never came close to it in 44 years. Even though the challenges are still, don't get me wrong, everything ain't perfect. But the challenges that I'm going through, I can now create a mindset, you know what? I'm going to get something out of this. I ain't going to get discouraged. I ain't going to get stressed, because God has allowed me to walk into it for a reason. I'm supposed to go into this and walk out of it with a lesson. So if it don't go the way that I hope, or even sometimes that I plan, I'm good, because I know that God has something else for me down the line. But I got to take this lesson first right here. I got to take this lesson. I got to understand this lesson, so that when God introduced me to the next phase, the next situation, I'm like, okay, I'm geared up. I'm ready. What is it now, God? I'm ready to receive it. So everything that you just said, like, man, is so powerful, because over the last 1.5 years, like that's where I've been. That's where I've been. To really understand, like giving God that true yes. I'm telling you that yes, where nobody can make you turn back. Not even that man. Not even that man. I'm telling you, like, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So my next question for you would be, should a woman that is with or vice versa, we're not just going to talk about man, but the woman, from the woman aspect and the man aspect, if you're with that partner and you know that partner is dealing with their brokenness, should we challenge them to heal? Should we, and if we do challenge them to heal, what's the appropriate way to challenge them to heal? Because a lot of times, from the woman aspect, as I said, we stay thinking that we're that tool that they need, but we're not necessarily that tool or that help that they need.
Well, I'm not going to say you're not that tool. Women are not that tool, but this is what I'm going to say. Understanding and being having complete mannerism when you're asking them what happened. It may not have happened while you was with them, but it did happen. And so to really understand, a lot of females really have to humble themselves. How would I want someone to talk to my brother, or how would I want someone to talk to my son about the brokenness? Because a lot of women do understand what the brokenness is, but they don't understand how internally it affects a man down his heart and his soul. Externally, he might have a smile on his face every day, but he's just walking through life with emotions because he don't want to let society inside. He don't want to let society see him breaking. And so, but you're his mate, his wife, his confidant. And so therefore, like I said before, you was there with me, but not there for me. Wow. And so when you're in that closed space with your mate, and you're going through these things, and you can tell something hasn't broke down. So you just ask him what's wrong, but not in a way where you demand for him to tell you what's wrong. In a way where he feel like he can open up, because there's certain ways that you have to conduct yourself with people for them to feel like they can open up. And once
And
they
that
feel that they can open up, they have.
and that's what I was just about to say. Like when I was saying, like, we're not the tool. The right to the my using that phrase is to say physically I'm here, but the way that you need support, the way that you talk, the way that your deliverance, that may not be the right way. Um, that may that they may need the part of healing. So when I'm saying a tool is the right thing, the tool is going to get the job done. The tool is that's what you need. It's going to get the job
Mhm.
done. The right tool is going to get the job done. So that's why I say we're not the tool that they need, because sometimes we need to reposition ourselves to even be the support that they need. You know, we need to be, like you said, we have to understand, we have to dig into and be able to understand, like, where did it start? You know what I'm saying? How is it affecting you? Because, like, as you said, on a day-to-day basis, they looking good, they acting okay, but they're not really okay. So one of the things that I've
So
actually learned, go ahead.
cause and when I lived in the DMV, uh, me and your cousin Simeon and my cousin Simeon, we used to go visit a lady named Miss Wanda, and
Mm-hmm.
Miss Wanda was a real righteous soul, older, real righteous soul, and so I said, Miss Wanda, what you think about? Now this was a while back. I said, what you think about the broken man? She said, the
Hmm.
broken man is nothing but the lonely man, and she said,
Hmm.
and the lonely and the lonely man is a man that that had a situation that he couldn't get over. And I said, do you think there are a lot of dads in the world don't take care of their children? He said, people would say that. Society would want you to believe that. But there are a lot of dads in the world that don't take care of their children because their fathers never took care of them. So they never really
Wow.
had the insight on how to be a man and how a
Wow.
father should love a child. And so that brokenness spills over to when they adults. And so instead of us women tearing them down, we need to lift them up, keep them in prayer. And
Absolutely.
whether whether he can give you whether he can give you $5 or $500,
Hmm.
don't deny him from seeing his son, because once
Hmm.
you deny him from seeing his son, then that's going to damage the child. And now you got two broken men that you have to deal with
Absolutely.
yourself, and and you can't fix that brokenness because you don't have a spiritual process and a spiritual growth with God. You don't even know
Hmm.
who God is. You just know that a man that you love that you can't be with now inside, and so you hate him, but you ain't seek healing for yourself. So how can you hold a
Hmm.
conversation with your son about
Man,
his father when you have no spiritual growth and you have no
you
spiritual
talking
commitment?
good, guys. You
And
talking. Oh
I,
my God, you
I'm just
talking so
saying,
good.
I'm
Whoo! That I'm
I'm just
telling you, that
saying,
bitterness, man, that bitterness will ruin you internally. It will ruin you
right?
internally. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been that woman. It will ruin you. You will have no peace. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
You will have no, but
Right.
you're, and that's what I mean. You're not that tool, because physically you there. You feel as though I'm here with you every day. I'm talking to you. I'm communicating with you. But guess what? You're not communicating properly. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand. We're just gonna talk about this somewhat out loud, but I'll bring it up now. You don't understand the triggers. You don't understand that when you talk to him like that, that may be a trigger. You don't understand that when you
Mm.
do certain things to her, it's a trigger. We have to be able to understand these things in our relationships when we're dealing with the trauma and the pain and all of those different. We gotta understand the triggers. As I told you before we came live, one of the things when I decided to say, okay, I'm gonna start. We're gonna start fresh. When after I had took my time to
Mm-hmm.
myself to heal and step into my healing stage, and I felt okay, I could do this again. I'm ready to start, but I want to do this brand new with God this time. The first question I asked DeAndre's dad, as I told you before we got on this live, was, "Are you ready to let your past go? Are you ready to let your past go?" Because I've spent my time dealing with myself and let my past go. I can't go forward this time. We
Well,
both had we both had trust issues.
well, it's a thing when a woman say, "Are you willing to let your past go?" Is she saying that in a mannerable, in a spiritual, and a godly way, or does it come off like she's giving him an ultimatum to get yourself right, or I'm done? So if you
From my
love
from
me
my
and you know
aspect,
that,
from my aspect, it was coming from a godly perceptive, because I was in that stage of letting God take care of my pain. You know what I'm saying? And seeing my growth and
hmm
knowing where I wanted to go and understanding my goals for myself and my aim for myself. So therefore, I wanted him to understand the same thing, that I'll give you time if you're not there yet. Even though I understand that saying let go doesn't mean that it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's instantly done. I under no. But are you willing to
hmm
do the work? Are you willing to prepare just like me to let go of the past, so that those trust issues, so that what we went through with our mother, what we went through with our father, what we went through in those cycles of relationships and that pain, that dysfunction no longer causes the issues for us, because I'm not that woman. I'm not that woman that did it to you. And you're not that man that did it to me. So
well,
we spent
well, let me
years.
tell. Well,
Go ahead. I'm listening.
so let me tell you about trust issues from a man's perspective. Are you ready?
Hmm. I'm
Trust
ready.
issues from a
I'm
man's
ready.
perspective is trust. Ladies, listen to me. Please listen to me. Trust issues from a male's perspective is a male only trying to do damage control on how he let somebody get close to his heart, and the
Hmm.
situation has his mind so bottled to he refused to let go, to release it, to let God, where he can even trust himself again. So if he don't trust himself emotionally, externally, internally, how can he ever trust you, because you remind him of somebody that crushed his soul, not because you look like her, because you are a female that told him this and told him that, and he opened up and let go to her, and now he don't know what to do with himself because he's damaged, he's lost, he feel like he can't ever love again, he feel like he can't have faith in that female again, and so
Hmm.
that brokenness is a really, really, really crucial healing process. And so when you're dealing with a man that has trust issues, you have to take baby steps with him. You need to build
Hmm.
a solid
Man.
friendship first. A friendship, a friendship
Man.
without emotions, but a friendship with only with spiritual love. A
Man.
spiritual
Cause
friendship.
when I tell you that, right? Listen, everything you just said. See, when you talked about the man not being able to open up and guard his heart and all that, I heard all of those words. Like, he was telling me all of this stuff. But because mentally I wasn't in that stage spiritually, I couldn't connect with what he was saying. You understand what I'm saying? But when I began to spiritually connect with myself and connect with God, I could take intact. He was telling me, I don't open up easy. I've been
Mm-hmm.
hurt so many times. She told me the same thing, or you acting like her, you this and you that. And that's what I'm saying. That's why we got to work on ourselves first. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to so many times we trying to pull into somebody else and we trying to help them through their situation, through their healing process, but we ain't worked through ours yet. But what I've noticed that through my situation is that you working on yourself and you stepping out to heal yourself. Knowing your purpose and running after your purpose, and your goal is to heal. Your goal is to change. Your goal is to get you right. you can also encourage that your partner, that husband, that dating partner, no matter who he is, what title it is, you can encourage them too, you know. But it has to
Right.
start somewhere. It's like, are we both on the same page? Because, like I said, getting started the for the last and final time, I wasn't moving forward until I was sure, like, I'm doing the work for myself, and I need to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to do the same thing? Because I'm tired of
Right.
the repeated cycles of dealing with men under these circumstances. It no longer works for me. And I found myself in spots in the past trying to help a man and pouring into a man, but I ignored all of Keisha issues. Not all of my issues, but
So,
I neglected myself when I should have been giving myself more.
mhm. So when men and women are in bad relationships, a man and woman have to, both men and women, they have to take time to do uh, this right here. They have to understand what self development is, what
Hmm.
self love is, what
Hmm.
self awareness is, what self
Hmm.
consciousness is. And so, with understanding those things, when you're into that healing space where you're healing daily, then you have to understand that you have to rebrand and restructure your identity. And so,
Man.
once a person is hurt, they feel like they have no identity because the love that they had for this person, they feel like the identity that they gave that person, that they ripped, that they've been ripped to shreds. And so when society sees them without that person, they give them this baffled look, like, why it didn't work? Y'all was together so long. And so
Hmm.
sometimes they scared to face society, but only God can help you get not a physical identity. It's not about your emotional identity. It's not by the way you look, not that identity. But now, once you get the spiritual identity, then that's when your rebranding and your structuring starts from the person that God wants you to be. And so, how many people can really testify that say they have a spiritual identity nowadays? What is your
Man, you could
spiritual identity? How does that look?
have. You
Yes.
clarified a whole lot to me for me, cuz I'm telling you, you speaking where I am right now. Like, and I didn't even think about it that way. When you're talking about self identity, the renewness of your self identity, I didn't even think about that till you just said it. But my term has always been excitement, this new place. But you just helped me. Like, I have a new identity through the spiritual connection I've gained with God. I have a new identity. I don't function the same way. My desires have changed. My mindset is different. I don't care about certain things. I'm good where I am. You know, Man, you just helped me. Self identity, a new way, a new brand. Man, that was good. I like that. You just clarified that for me.
Yeah.
You just clarified
Right.
that.
And so let's talking about how the righteous man helps heal the broken woman.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say that again. How the
Mm-hmm.
righteous man help heals the broken woman.
Okay.
So a righteous man and a spiritual man, he does one thing for the broken woman. Um, he asks her, what did she ask God for? And when did she ask God for it? And how did she come to God? In that sense, we're saying, when you know you're broken, do you really
Mm.
think that you can navigate by yourself, um, to enter the process of self healing? No, you can't, because you're broken for a reason. Because you could absorb that pain that that broke you down into a way where you felt like you didn't know which way you was going. You didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. You didn't want to shower. Um, you didn't want to talk to your mom. You didn't want to talk to your dad. You wouldn't answer your phone. You just shut the whole world off, and you just laid there in your sorrow and your misery and pain. And
Hmm.
I got one thing for to say for the people that do that. Um, You are authentically chosen. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say it again.
Wow.
You are authentically chosen. And I say authentically because God made us all in a different light. Yes, He made us in His image, but He made us in a different light. And so what works for you may not work for others. But if you allow somebody to break you down so bad until you're not thankful for waking up, then that's a part of self healing that that you have to help ask God help with. And so when a
Hmm.
woman goes through this, and women go through things, hurt, pain, um, they go through domestic violence, they go through sexual assault, and so the healing process is quite different. So but I do know some remarkable women who went through the healing process, and they are a living testimony, and they inspire to share, to uplift, to embrace, and to glorify. Because with
Hmm.
that being said, the righteous man understand that pain. The righteous man is not going to push up on you and try to get you in bed. The righteous man is going to invite you to the Bible study. He's going to invite you to the prayer service. He's going to invite you to the youth day at the church. He's going to do something for you to try to make you feel good. Or
Hmm.
he's going to invite you to a what we call a talk session. And a talk session is when 10, 12 adults get together, and we just talk about the challenges of society. We may do it over dinner, we may do it at a cookout or something like that, but we're talking about real issues, and everybody got their iPads or their tablets and their legal pads and their pens, and we comparing notes and writing notes, and that's how those self-healing seminars start. The healing
Hmm.
stage. You know what I mean? That's how those seminars start, because broken people share ideals, but righteous people help broken people to uplift themselves. And
Hmm.
the good book said, "Those who are righteous, let them be righteous still." So you don't just get righteous overnight. There's there's a lot of stuff that we can see when we read the good book, that you know um, Paul was a liar and a thief, but he one of the greatest apostles that was ever in the Bible. You know what I mean? So just because your past can't define you. So
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. This new spiritual identity,
Hmm.
and and like a part of your past implements your pain, and your pain implements your growth. So you
Hmm.
can restructure, rebrand, rebuild, and understand what God has placed on your life is this new self identity. The self healing
Hmm.
process causes you to have a self identity that nobody's familiar with. So when they're not familiar with it, they say, this person is different. What happened? What they don't know, the spiritual growth that you never had before, you got
Hmm.
it now, and you and
Wow.
you sharing it with the world. And when God is in your favor, it's only one thing you can say is you blessed by the best. So
Yep.
the favor of God not only shines on you, but it shines on others that's in your circle, because that
Hmm.
new identity helps them understand that they can do it too. And so
And he,
with the brokenness,
you go ahead.
okay, so with the brokenness, we gotta think, people been going through brokenness for a long time. Brokenness it just didn't come now. But certain things make people broke. And what I'm gonna say about the brokenness when we become the children, if a child comes from a toxic parenthood, hear me good. A toxic child only knows one thing. He knows what he or she has seen, and they know that whatever mate they get, they do not want to live like they seen their parents live.
Hmm.
And so we talk about the toxic fathers, but there's a whole lot of toxic mothers that people give a pass. If you
Yep.
toxic, you toxic. It don't matter whether you male or female. And
So
so
true.
but That toxic father is one thing, but that toxic mother that carried you 9 months, that's a whole different pain for a child. That's a whole different level of pain.
Wow.
And so the only way that mother get rid of that toxic behavior is she had to acquire that spiritual process that implements that spiritual growth, so she can have a new spiritual identity. It goes
Hmm.
back to that spiritual identity all the time. So I just want people to understand, what is your spiritual identity and what does it mean to you? And what do this spiritual identity mean to your children, your siblings, and your parents? The spiritual
Hmm.
identity is something serious. And we got to embrace, uplift, and empower that where we once was in life. The reason why we was there, because we had no spiritual identity.
Hmm. So true. And one of the things, as you was talking, I was thinking about, I had heard this quote or something of the saying before, but I think as I also reflect on my process of transitioning, how two hurt people get together, and you're working through that
Hmm.
situation. You feel like, oh, this is we working through, we two hurt people, we in love, we making it everything, we doing good. But when that one person steps out and begins to, they want to heal, they want to grow, they tired, they change. That person that has now adapted and stepped beyond comfort, you could have been the best. They could have felt like you was the forever. You know what I'm saying? You was the man for them. You was the woman for them. But once they step into that healing stage, man, new desires can form. You know what I'm saying? Once they step into that side of, as you just said, new self identity through the spiritual connection, man, that person you once was to them, you may no longer be,
You're
because
not.
they were in that comfort person, they were in that spot because they were hurt. You hurt, I'm hurt. We both trying to
So
comfort each other. But once I let go of that hurt and I let go of that comfort and I begin to find my place and I begin to find my balance and all through the spiritual aspect, I'm telling you, I begin to realize that you're not say that because I've been in that spot where was my
mhm,
all was so broken. When I was dealing with ignoring my issues, or he was the best because he was there, he was the best because this and that. But then when I stepped into that
mhm,
true healing stage, I began to accept that I'm good if we not together. But before, I needed you. I can't let you go. I got to be with you. No matter what you did, I'm accepting it. But when I begin to tap into the healing, I begin to understand Keisha, and I step into that spiritual connection, that spiritual identity, as you said, self identity. It don't matter if you leave or go. I'm good. I'm good. I'm finally good with being friends if that's what it is, because I understand that I'm running after my healing. I'm running after my stable place, my balance. I'm running after my purpose. And so I say to people that are in that comfort, you're hurt, they hurt, and y'all just together because y'all feel y'all need each other. No, challenge each other to grow. Challenge each other together
mhm.
to grow. Somebody got to step out. Somebody got to heal. Somebody got to make that first move, because as I said in my video the other day, you just don't, you are in that comfort, but you have no idea of the potential that you have. You have no idea
That's right.
of
That's right.
how far, you have no idea how much you are doubting yourself. You have no idea of
That's right. That's right.
how much you are limiting your potential. You have no idea of the benefits that are on the other side if you just tap into your healing, if you just tap into, move beyond that fear, move beyond that comfort. I'm telling you, from somebody that have done it for the last 6 years, I'm telling you,
Hmm.
it took me 6 years to get here. I never thought that I would be doing just a little. I'm not even gonna say little. I never thought that I would be doing the things that I am doing today, because I was so stuck in grief, because I was so stuck in heartache. I was so
Mm.
stuck in men hurting and lying and cheating and pouring into them. And at the end of the stick, I feel like I I got the at the end of the situation, I felt I got the end of the stick. I never thought that I would move beyond all of those things. But now I'm good. No matter who stays or goes, I'm good with Keisha. And we have to challenge ourselves to get there. We have to. Because here's the thing, when people start to see that you take yourself serious, they're going to take you serious. I don't care if they treated you bad for
That's right. That's
15,
right.
20 years. When they see that you have become your number one priority and you take yourself serious, they will take you serious. And that's what it's going to take. And
That's
that's what
right.
I have
And,
learned in this last year
right.
and a half. I don't care how much they cheated on you, how much they abused you, how much they neglected you, abandoned you. When they begin to see that I now take me serious and you're no longer want to do this to me, they will begin to shift or they will leave. And that's a promise.
And I'm gonna say this, Keisha, before we get out of here, before we close out, I'm gonna say this right here. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. Infidelity should never be forgiven. Ever. And I'm gonna tell you why. Um, if you're married and you took the oath under God and you're unhappy and you go out there and cheat while you're still married, that's just like you disappointed God. You slap God in the face. I'm not saying he won't forgive it, but why would you disappoint somebody and slap somebody in the face that thoroughly blesses you no matter what the situation is? So the question is, how much do you really love God? How much do you really want to have a spiritual identity to help you navigate through the society that we live in? And if it's that bad, what is bothering you? And I think people hide so much when it comes to relationships and they don't try to fix it. Um, People have what we call baffled communication skills. Like they don't want to work problems out. Everybody want to be right, but don't nobody want to compromise. So
Hmm.
if you can't put in your mindset to rather compromise the situation so both parties can come to one common agreement that can benefit the whole situation as a whole, because problems can be fixed, but problems can't be fixed if you're still being messy. And I'm gonna leave you with this: the God I serve is not gonna bless no mess. He won't bless a mess because
Now,
he's in the blessing business, not the mess business.
now here's one thing. You say infidelity should not be forgiven. That's what you said.
No. Yes.
What did you say? Okay.
That's what I said.
That's what you said. Okay, so for
I stand
me,
behind that.
okay, so for
Hmm.
me, here's the way that I think. I think that first of all, I feel that forgiveness should be rendered.
Well. I'm saying this because when I say forgiven, I'm not saying you should have hatred. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying, if you love God more than you love that person, then
Mm-hmm,
you're gonna have those talks with God, and God is gonna
mm-hmm,
show you direction. And but this is my thing. If if I'm with a female and I say
mm-hmm,
I love her because God allowed me to love her like I love her, but I definitely love God more than I can love her. So this means that before I cheat on her and we're still
mm-hmm,
married under that oath of God, that
mm-hmm.
means that I would come to her and talk with her and say we need to talk about separating and getting a divorce. Because if I have to cheat on you and come home to you and lay in the same bed with you, to me that's some cold hearted. It's just something that I don't stand for. I don't conduct myself that way, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any person of God that has a spiritual identity and a spiritual presence with God should ever conduct themselves that way. That's just my opinion.
And I agree with that, but I also think because we're talking about the healing, for the person that have not challenged yourself to heal, So therefore, you haven't challenged yourself
Mm-hmm.
to heal in the singleness stage. You got into this relationship where you were dealing with your brokenness. Part of your what's the word I'm looking for? Part of the way that you dealt with your brokenness was probably running from woman to woman. You know what I'm saying? But you still settled in this
That can be
relationship.
true.
You still you still got engaged through your brokenness. You still got married through that brokenness. So the cheating's not going to stop. The lying's not going to stop. Those games are not going to stop. At the end of the day, I wouldn't say I would not forgive the man for what he done. Again, being the woman that I am today, I'm definitely going to challenge you to find yourself. Step away, go find yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I am not going to continue to let your lack of understanding your pain now cause me pain. So I wouldn't say that I wouldn't forgive, because my mental aspect now is people move on and they deny the healing, the whole healing aspect. And they get into these situations and these circumstances through life, and you wonder why life is like it is, or why things are going the way that they're going. It's because you haven't challenged yourself to heal. You got married through your brokenness. You got engaged through your brokenness. You had these children through your brokenness, which occurred all of these other different issues, and stuff. So I'm not going to say that I wouldn't forgive. I would definitely challenge that person. If you want to continue to
So,
deny your pain and your hurt, then go ahead and do that. But you're not going to inflict that on me.
so when I say not forgive, I mean I think as a whole, not a person should forgive that person, but
Mm-hmm.
that thought process that you had, and you cause, cheating is like premeditated murder. You already think
Mm-hmm.
about it before you do it. You already know it's already in your membrane, in your mind before you do it. And so if it's premeditated, you knew what you was doing, when you was doing it, and why you was doing it. And there would be some consequences. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I'm
I
not
agree.
talking about the hate, to have hate for them, I'm not talking about that hatred, but when I say not forgiving, it should, like, a lot of people brush it under the rug like it didn't happen. So that
Got
means that you're accepting it. You're accepting it. And so when I say not forgiving, you should hold them accountable. That's what I mean by that.
and
And I'm
that
not saying that you should
okay.
hate them,
So
but
I wanted
hold them
to
accountable.
absolutely. I wanted to redirect that to, because I thought that's what you were saying, like hold accountable. Just don't brush it off
Right.
and keep going. But I just wanted you to clarify that, because forgiveness, we should always forgive no matter what. However, don't brush it off and keep going and allowing this pain and this all of their issues, circumstances to rub off on you. So I definitely agree with you on that. We got 20 more minutes. I close. I do 90 minutes or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
You do not. Okay,
why?
because I wasn't aware. Okay.
Yeah, I heard you say let's close, but I do 90 minutes because I'm a talk and I like to dig right into it. One of the things that you asked me
Okay
is
then.
why women don't understand the spiritual connection. You had asked me that last month, and my question to that would be, we don't understand it because we have never challenged ourselves. We don't understand it because we have never challenged ourselves to grab into that aspect. We are so stuck, because I was that Keisha. We are so stuck with thinking that we can do it on our own. Not just we can do our
Uh,
issues on our own, we can make the man love us. We can we can
mm,
we can we can change him. If I do this, things will get
mm,
better. We take on
mm.
I took on all those responsibilities. I'm not even ashamed to say it. I took on all of those responsibilities. I did. And it wasn't until recently, until I stepped into that
Well,
spiritual aspect and gained that spiritual connection, that I realized I couldn't change him. I couldn't do none of that. I couldn't cause him to do the things that
mm-hmm,
I was trying to force him to do. None of that. Like, I literally had to
uh-huh,
say, God, I give this completely to you, and I trust you. And if it's meant for me, as I said in the beginning of this live, if it's meant for me, it's going to come back around. And even if it's just temporary, even if it's temporary, even if he don't, even if DeAndre's dad don't become my husband, I'm good. Because you know what? I am the becoming woman. And I told him this, I'm becoming the wife that I'm supposed to be for somebody. May not be you, but I'm challenging myself to become the wife that I am supposed to be for somebody. And that's just how I think on a day-to-day basis. I may not be his wife. He may not be my husband. But guess what? I'm going to keep on becoming the wife that I'm supposed to be. So that when God places me or when God desires him, guess what? I'm ready. I'm ready because I put in the work and I challenge myself to become that woman and to let go of all of that extra baggage. That's just how I think. So good or bad, I'm good. Here or there, I'm good.
So
together or not, I'm good. I'm
right.
good.
So with that same question that I said that why women don't understand, and I'm gonna tell you why a woman don't understand. A lot of times, it's certain talks that a father's supposed to have with a woman. You know, about man, about a man, about a man, about men, and sometimes spiritually, you know, if a person don't have that spiritually deeply rooted in them when they're growing up through their intermediate years, you know, when a girl is going into a womanhood, when a man is going to his womanhood. So how can you understand how the spiritual realm will evolve with you when you're seeking a husband or a wife? So you won't understand it because nobody have ever broke that down to you. And so, you know, with breaking that down to people, even some children who have been with their parents forever and their parents emotionally love them, mentally love them, physically love them, but have your parents ever told you that they spiritually love you? Like me and you are spiritually joined at the hip. Like God has given me to you through the spiritual process of his love. And that's why I know you, my child, you're always gonna be covered. So even with parents, there has to be a spiritual presence when you're raising your children, when you love your children, when you're teaching your children certain values that's going to help them navigate through society. It still has to come from the spiritual process, the spiritual form. And so
I agree.
with a female who don't understand what a man is doing spiritually because they've never understood themselves spiritually. So if you don't understand yourself spiritually, and if you're not spiritually invested to understand self-development and self-love, and you don't have that conscious mindset to be aware that God has always been with you, he's covered you, and you need to grow spiritually more. And so you can embrace the fact that the spiritual guidance that you got from God, that he's only given it to you for you to share with your family, your friends, your co-workers, to impact someone else's life. Because how can you say that you of God and you love God and you be selfish with your blessings? You can't do that. The spiritual realm will help you impact someone else's life. That's just my take on it.
Yeah. I understand. I agree too, especially with spiritual connection with children. I definitely agree with that. It's just some things that God has showed me, like through our children, you know, when they become grown and they get themselves in those situations that you know only God could have got them out of. You know what I'm saying? Like I see
Right.
that with my oldest son, and I'll be like, God, you did it again. You know what I'm saying? Because I constantly am praying for my kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm constantly praying for them in and out the situation. Because I understand kids these days, they're going to do what they want to do. And it may not be what we want them to do as parents, but I continue to pray, God, I understand that he's doing it his way. But God, guide his steps as he makes this move, because I know it may not be the right move for him. And sometimes I will tell, there were times when I used to tell my son things and he wouldn't listen. And I'll just let the time go by and he'll come back and be, Mom, you was right. I knew it, but I just wanted you to get that aspect that I knew what I was talking about. So that spiritual connection with your child is like so important. We have to constantly pray for our kids or pray over our kids. I haven't done it. I do it with DeAndre. Sometimes he's just laying in the bed and I'm just touching him while I'm praying. Thank you. If it's nothing else but, God, I thank you. Sometimes I find myself while DeAndre is asleep, just holding him. When I'm waking him up in the morning, I just have him in my arms and I'm just holding this child. And I got my hands, my head, I'm holding them tight because I say, God, this was the beginning. DeAndre was the beginning of my healing stage. Had I not had him, when I had DeAndre, I didn't even think I was worthy of being a mother again because of my decisions that I made that I felt was my fault of losing my 14-year-old son. I never thought I was worthy of being a mother again. And then to know that DeAndre, me and his dad, we were going to abort him. We were going to abort him. And 4 years later, we look at him and be like, we was going to abort this baby. As much joy and peace, and his smile just makes you so happy, and he cheers. We look at him and be like, you know what? We would have made the biggest mistake of our life, because that baby DeAndre brings so much happiness to us in the midst of our own personal struggles. He has been a sense of reassurance for me that I'm still worthy of being a mother. I'm enjoying a different stage of being a mother. When I had my other two, because I was a young mother, early 20s, I couldn't enjoy the things that I enjoyed with him. I can enjoy everything with DeAndre. Before, I was a young mother trying to understand how to be a mother. Now I'm older and I understand how to be a mother, so I can enjoy everything that happens. So when you talk about that spiritual connection, it's so true, because we'll find ourselves saying, God, I thank you. I thank you for this and I thank you for that, because we're constantly praying for them and praying over them. And it makes a big difference. Me and my son, there were times we have conversations about God, may not be that often. We have conversations about God, and he'll say things to me. There were times when I used to find myself in a hard spot and he'd say, Mom, I know you trust in God. And to me, just those words right there meant a lot, because my son sees that I trust God and I depend on God. And it's going to teach him as he grow older to also trust God in his walk and his journey. So it's so true that spiritual connection, not only do we have to think about it in our relationships, but we also have to think about it in our relationships with man and woman, but we also have to think about in our relationship with our own children too. So that's so important. That is so important. We have about 15 minutes left. One of the other questions that you asked me was, how do we find inner peace? And when you were asking me how do we find inner peace, you was talking about inner peace as how? Inner peace in a particular area, or inner peace overall? What specific area were you talking about?
The inner peace.
Overall?
I'm just talking about inner peace overall, as far as when you've been in a toxic environment for a long time, whether it's relationship, whether it's situationship, or whether it's with your family, or whether it's friends. Toxic relationships go on so many different levels, and so how do one find inner peace? Why do they want inner peace? And is the inner peace going to give them enough space to really understand how and why they have to cut some people loose that's been in their lives and when I say make no difference, I don't mean you don't love this person, but what purpose did they serve of being in your life? So if a person don't serve a purpose of being in your life, the purpose can be a person that's uplift, you send you encouraging words. But if they always got some negative say, you always find them putting your name in mess that you had nothing to do with, then that person need to be cut off. And then this person invite you to the club, they'll invite you to a ball game, but every time you invite them to church, they got something to do. What? That's a toxic person. That's a person who ain't
Mm,
trying to grow with God, trying to go with God, or not trying to be of God. So that person
mm.
need to get out your life. And sometimes you just gotta let them kick rocks. So you can always love people and pray for people from a distance, but that don't mean they gotta be in your circle, because some people can turn your circle upside down, and then here you got this toxic environment in your circle, and it's it's messy. It's messy. There's some more mess. There's some more mess, and then that person can block you from getting the blessings that you receive. Because a lot of times when the anointing is not in your circle, then blessings get blocked. And so
Hmm.
that's what I say, you have to find your inner peace, and that inner peace is going to allow you not to let anybody in your environment that has a toxic mannerism.
And
That's what
that's
I
so
mean by
true.
that.
And for me, finding inner peace, not that, I mean, I adhere to it. God, I'm ready for the things that may that may discontinue, or the separations that may cause, with me finding my inner peace. And I think that we have to keep in mind that as we grow, as we mature, and especially as we had you talked about the parties and the clubbing and stuff like that, and once you advance from that stage and you say, now I want to do this different thing. I think I want to make a switch now. I want to try this. I want to get closer to God. As you make that transition, some friends may not be pleasing. That may not be pleasing to some friends, but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. And what I've learned through my growth stage is that the people that are not right for you, let them fall off. Don't stress yourself about those people that fall off. Everybody is not meant to go with you on every stage that you enter. You know,
That's
um,
right. That's right.
everybody is not meant to follow you with every stage that God, for every open door that God allows you to walk into. And we have to be able to understand that, and also for the people, also keep in mind, for those people that fall off, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a done situation, that is permanent. No, give them the time to
Right.
understand that my vision for myself and my goal for myself and my aim for myself is serious. And if you can't respect it, then you can't be in my space. Because my space is, I take my space serious. You know, my space is important to me right now. My environment is important to me as I continue to grow. If you can't understand that, or if you are bothered uh, of my spiritual growth, and you're bothered of the place that this person that I've become, then that's your problem. It's not mine.
Hmm.
Because I'm going to continue to walk in this path, because guess what? It's working for me. It's working for me. It's bringing
That's
growth
right.
in my life.
That's right.
I am changing. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I'm seeing the benefit of this thing. Um, I'm I found my peace during this journey. So I'm not going to hide myself. I'm not going to limit myself because you can't shift into my space. I will allow you to remove yourself from my space then before I limit myself. And that's just me. I found my confidence, so much confidence in knowing that, man, God is never going to hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Like, God is never going to break me.
No, you're
Um,
right.
God is never
You're
going
right.
to do the things that He's never going to do the things to. This is how I found comfort, cuz, and I had to have this talk as we close. I had to have these talks with myself, Keisha. You got to trust God,
Hmm.
because God's not going to break you like so and so did. God's not going.
And I'm
He's
glad you're
not going
doing
to
that.
break
I'm
you.
really glad you're doing that.
He's not going to cheat on you. He's not going to cause you pain. You can't lose with God. I've had to
That's right.
have talks with myself
No,
for
you can't.
years. And I've
Hmm.
had to build that up so much that I say, you know what? That now when I walk, I can walk with a strut. I can walk with a small smile. I can be full confident in myself. And like I said, Even if a man leaves or goes, I'm good, because guess what? God is still there no matter what. And I had to get to that place to understand that with God, I'm good. The old Keisha thought that she was
Always.
only good. The old Keisha thought that she was only good if a man was by her side. I didn't understand that. I didn't
Mm.
understand. I didn't understand because that I had to break away from that physical man. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand. I had to be
Mm-hmm.
introduced to
Mm-hmm.
I had to be introduced to what the spiritual man can give me. And once I understood what the spiritual man can give me, and where when I began to focus on my purpose, and I began to allow God to use me and advance me to become this my full potential, that God is now going to place me, where I need to be. He's going to bring that man. He's going to position me into place that I no longer have to flaunt my body. I no longer have to make myself notice. You know what I'm saying? Like everything
That's right.
that is supposed to occur is going to occur. I don't have to half dress. I don't have to go out and get my boobs done and my butt done. I don't have to stress about how I look and all this stuff, because the right man is going to accept me for who I am, how I look. He's going to understand my value. He's going to understand my worth. He's going to understand my faults. He's going to understand my flaws. I'm not going to have to be 100 for him to accept me, but through my growth, through my trust in God, through my commitment, through me putting in the work, through me repositioning myself, through me just continue to be the person that I am, everything's going to work. I had many chats in the mirror. It took so many chats in the mirror for me to get to this place.
And see, and the right man is going to do something that another man has not done. You know what that is?
Hmm.
He's going to recognize your spiritual identity. I'm
Wow.
say it again. He's going to recognize your spiritual identity. That's right, cuz. That's right, cuz. If you don't remember nothing else about this life, just remember your big cuz told you your spiritual identity is something serious.
Man, and
Your
cuz you just
spiritual
helped me.
identity is
Man, you just helped me because I told DeAndre's dad this long ago, a couple of weeks ago. I've never had a man. First of all, I've never challenged myself spiritually as I have this last year and a half. First of all, I've never had a man encourage me through my push, through my purpose, and through my pain. He does that. So
mm-hmm.
that's such a good feeling to have somebody
So
watch your life. It's such a good feeling. I've never had a man encourage me through my push, through my purpose, and through my pain. I've never had that. And it's such a good feeling that I don't worry about, man, my push, cuz my purpose and my pain. I'm telling you, even when I look back at the things that I had to forgive him for, the things that I had to say, okay, God, this hard, but I'm gonna move past this. The things that I was embarrassed that other people knew that happened between us. I had to let all of that
mm,
go. Man, I had to let all of it go. And I had to say,
mm,
God, I am trusting you to do something new this time. For me. For me. Because I realize that if you do it for me first, for us, it'll become something different. And God has done just
that's
that,
right.
cuz. He's done just that. And
That's
I'm
right.
on
That's
this
right.
road where, like I said, if he marry me or not, I'm good because I'm still learning. But Keisha's going to keep becoming the
Mm-hmm.
woman she's supposed to be so that when she meets the man, or if he is the man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm there. I'm becoming to be that Proverbs 31 woman. You know what I'm saying? Just last night, I was on my phone and I was looking at the attribute of a Proverbs 31 woman. Just today, as we was in Denny's, I pulled it
Ooh.
up on my phone. Just today, as we were, see, I feel comfortable now, cuz, that I could sit with a man and say, I'm aiming to be Proverbs 31 woman. And I could pull it up on my phone, and now he'll say, what is that? What is she? What's those characteristics? And we could sit down and we could talk about Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman. Ask me if I could do that with any other man that I was with. Hell no. They didn't want to listen to that.
So
just to have a man listen to me on the spiritual side means so much.
It sounds like to me, as you know, our grandmother would say, God always got a ram hid in the bush. So with having a young man like that that's going to listen to you on that level and of that magnitude and recognize your spiritual identity, let me tell you what he just did. He recognized your spiritual identity with what we've been talking about the whole show. And so therefore, all you need to do is understand that, look at his growth process. Look at the righteous levels of how he's been conducting himself. It takes a lot to change it like that. It takes a lot. And he was willing to do that.
Here's the thing. With 5 minutes left, and we're going to pray before we go. He's not young. He's old. But when I got into this dysfunctional, toxic relationship from day one, because I shouldn't have got into it, guess what? I was looking at his age. But you know what I realized? A man's age has nothing to do with it. It's the adherence of his own pain, of his own position, and his own purpose, of him needing to heal through all three of those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, his age has, I'm like, you how old and you don't know this? You how old and you don't understand this? But I had to realize it's not about the age. You know what I'm saying? It's about
not at all.
Where he positions himself and what he's focused on and what his aim and his purpose is. And I had to learn that. But just the whole experience of having a man sit down and listen to me spiritually. I ain't talking about sex. I ain't talking about going on vacation. You encouraging me and listening to me on a spiritual aspect, because I've never had a man do that. And it feels so good to be able to do that. And I feel that they just rushing you. They just rushing you to switch the topic, or no, he's talking back. So beyond everything that we've been through, that we pushed through, that happened, that I was probably embarrassed about, people probably talked about because they knew, guess what? God has showed me something through that. And I realized this because it had to happen. Everything that happened had to happen because it positioned me right where I am today. And that's the end of our life.
What a blessing.
That's the end of our life.
What a blessing. What a blessing, man. You know, you just tell DeAndre Father, I salute him, man. Like, I really salute him, you know, and just keep doing what he's doing, man, because they say those who are righteous, be righteous still. And just keep on moving and keep on navigating and just keep on putting God first and carrying that spirit and just understand that spiritual identity, because it's peeking out. I can see it.
Absolutely. And I will say this as my closing comments to the ones that are watching. You know, I don't care what the situation is, what the circumstances is, what you've been through, what you had to forgive that person for, how much pain, how much disappointment, how much abandonment, the separation, the divorce, the heartache, the pain, the trauma, the whatever it is. I'm telling you, you got to push past that thing. You got to push past that thing like you've never pushed before. You got to pray like you've never prayed before. You got to trust God like you've never trusted God before. You got to commit to him like you have never committed before. And you got to give him that yes like you've never gave nobody that yes before. And when you do that, talking from somebody that have done everything I just said, when you do that, God will begin to shift you. He will begin to change you. He will begin to mold you. He will begin to bring growth into your life. He will begin to position you in a place that you've never been. Those things that you thought that you could never find. That person that you thought that you could never find. If you trust God, man, I'm telling you, some great things will come. Some great things will come. Some great things will come. So I'm going to pray I'm going to pray us out of this live. And cuz I thank you. I'm telling you,
Okay.
you gave me some
That's
definition
it.
of the spiritual self identity. You
You
know, you helped me clarify
you
that
you,
tonight
def-
because
you definitely will.
I, I always, if you listen to my videos, I kept saying I'm in this place I've never been before. It just feels so exciting. And
Right.
tonight you helped me realize
Right.
that God has just defined my self identity through my spiritual connection. I love you so much, cuz. Man, I love you so much.
Love you too,
I'm gonna
cuz.
pray. I'm gonna pray us out of this live, and again, I thank you, God. We come to you tonight just to say thank you, God. I thank you for this conversation, God. I pray that somebody will walk away with a new sense of understanding, with a new sense of direction, to move past comfort, to move past fear, to move past those things that are hurting, to move past those things that are hard, to move past those things that are discouraging, to move past those things that are breaking them from the left to the right, from the front to the back. God, I pray that you may just deal with them mentally, that you may deal with them spiritually, you will deal with them physically, and you will deal with them mentally to allow them to see that without you in their life, the process will be hard. But with you, the process will become manageable and it will become easier. God, I thank you for just continuing to allow me and my cousin to speak to the world, to speak to those, to render encouragement, to render motivation, to render encouragement, to render uplifting to those who may be struggling, to those who may be challenged, those who maybe just be needing a simple conversation, just to listen, just to hear, just for support. I pray that you continue to watch over our families. I pray that you continue to just render the peace in the lives that is so needed in our households. God, I pray that you may begin to rebuild relationships. You may begin to reestablish relationships. I pray that you may begin to reconcile relationships, the damage, the hurt, the pain, the abandonment, all of those things, God. Allow them to see that with you, you can reposition them through the purpose, through their pain, through their push. All things will form if they just trust you. God, I pray that you continue to watch over us. I pray that you may just continue to just be the protector and just continue to render the best into us as we just continue to do as you has called us to do, to speak out as the bold man and the bold man and woman that we are. All these blessings I ask, all these requests I render to you. Amen. Amen. I
Amen.
thank you again, cuz this has been a awesome live. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And
Yes.
again, I love you.
You love you too.
Good
You as
night.
well. Be blessed.
Oh,
I'll be in touch.
all right.
Good night.
You too. Bye bye.